taking you through how global markets queued up on Tuesday, especially after Monday's sell-off, which was led primarily by technology. Tuesday saw all three US benchmark indices rise, and that was led possibly by the better than expected manufacturing reading, which came in and led to some amount of optimism. The PMI came in at around 61.9 after August numbers stood at 61.7. The Dow was up almost 1%, reversing the losses which it had made on Monday, and the S&P 500 too rose over 1% in trade, with 9 out of the 11 sectors in the index closing positive. So good cues all around. The Nasdaq too closed almost 1.25% higher in trade on Tuesday, which meant that technology stocks were on the rebound. Moving on to Europe, European markets closed higher, primarily led again by banking and tech stocks as well. The DAX closed over 1% higher, pretty much reversing all of the losses it had made on Monday. The FTSE 100 rose almost 1% after closing again Monday in the red. The CAC 40 was up over 1.5% in trade on Tuesday after falling around 2/3% on Monday, again reversing pretty much all of Monday's losses. And the stock 600 rose around 1.15%, around 1.2% higher, with banks and tech stocks gaining. Banks were up almost 3.5% on the stock 600, and tech stocks were up 2.1% for the index. Moving on to Asia, major Asian indices were in the red except the Hang Seng. Japan's Nikkei dropped more than 2% yesterday. Nikkei was down around 2.19% to be precise. The Hang Seng though rose around 0.25% yesterday. The SX 200 fell 0.2% after, even despite the Reserve Bank of Australia leaving rates untouched. Kospi was down around 1.9% in trade yesterday. The Shanghai index was closed due to holidays, so of course no update there. Moving on to how Asia is looking early today morning. The Nikkei was up around 0.9% in early trade. The ASX 200 was absolutely flat, in fact down 10 basis points in early trade. The Kospi has risen again 0.9% in early trade, mirroring the Nikkei, and the SGX Nifty futures, which closed around 3/4% lower higher in trade yesterday, is now a further 20 basis points higher in early trade today. Moving on to commodities, the London Metal Index, which was down around 11 basis points after 2 consecutive days in the green on last Friday as well as on Monday. So Tuesday saw a bit of a fall there. Oil prices have hit a 3-year high. Oil is now at almost $79 a barrel, Brent at $82.5 a barrel. Gold has dipped a bit after the US dollar advanced, even yields advanced. So gold has seen a bit of a dip, is at around $1750 an ounce. The London Metal Index for copper was down almost 1% in trade. Moving on to how the dollar index was looking, it was up around 1/5% at the close of trade yesterday after 3 consecutive days of fall. So a good recovery for the dollar index, which was also up 4 basis points in early trade today, quite flat. The US 10-year Treasury yields are back above the 1.5% mark, in fact closing in on the 1.55% mark, which is definitely a cause of surprise. Bitcoin is on a tear this October, rising nearly 4% despite the dollar advancing, despite yields advancing. Bitcoin is up and is well above the US dollar 50,000 mark. In fact, it's above the US dollar 51,000 mark as well. That's a roundup of global indices and how markets are doing early today.